everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. Dr. Judy here, Dr. Judy WTF. And today we're going to talk about friendships that drain you and letting go of toxic relationships. And this time the inspiration came from my own life and my letting go of a friendship that was actually, I'll get into it. It had some really, really wonderful aspects to it. It's just that at the end of the day, I felt drained by it and I just couldn't anymore. So if anybody identifies with this, please know that this is a call-in show and my number is 323-524-2599. And just a little bit about me for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. I have a psychological healing center, which you can find at psychologicalhealingcenter.com. And I have a mind map that I work off of, which has now been nicely animated on my website. And there it is, the mind map. And we're going to delve into the mind map so that you can understand it in the context of the topic at hand today. And so, a little bit about the mind map. It was something that I created decades ago to heal human disconnect and global disconnect, a challenge that I am still faced with and will delve into in this chapter of my life. And also, for those of you who are smokers or know people who smoke, my Stop Smoking book revised, because I've done a couple of them, but this is the deep dive into reasons why you smoke from a mind map perspective, called Kick It. Stop smoking in 5 days and be the cause of better outcomes of your life. And you can do it cold turkey or you can do it gradual withdrawal. Of course, the gradual withdrawal will take longer than the 5 days. However, the choice is yours. So, toxic friendships and why it is important to let them go. All right, so what is a toxic friendship? I'm going to go to my panels. Let's go through the panels and then we can apply it. So, if you look at panel number one, um, there's your light. See, in the background is that light that's bursting through the darkness. And if you can metaphorically relate to that light as your own light, the best of your best self, your actualized light, your potential light, the part of you that is um, in alignment with your authenticity, as I like to say. And that can be defined as your truth, um, your best of your best. Okay, we'll call it the best of your highest best. And then those little dots on that surface represent all of the shadows that stop you from growing. Okay, so some of those shadows may be verbal abuse. I'm now going through the childhood wounds: verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, smothering, narcissism, which is, as many of you know, I specialize in, which is a system gone wrong where people have no empathy and they just don't feel, or they don't feel enough, or they don't feel for you, which allows them to do things that violate other human beings because empathy is a great feedback mechanism. If you feel for somebody, you don't really want to hurt them because hurting them will hurt you. Okay, so it's just an excellent thing to have. Although, in my case, I think I chose this profession, the profession of psychology, because I have too much empathy and I'm too um, uh, generally too much of the people pleasing type. So I've been obviously working on myself with that and about that and with others, and have um, expressed it in the form of not allowing people that do not support my light to play a big part in my life. And so when I find that I'm around people that don't magnify my light, that support my light, then I don't find value for myself in that. And then, of course, there are other consequences of that, which I'll get into. So, panel one, these wounds of childhood: neglect, smothering, control, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, having narcissistic parents that put themselves before you. These are all setups for your blueprint, okay? These are all setups for the people that you will engage with, the people that you will sign up into your life, the people that you will tolerate, the limitations that you will put on yourself. And so don't forget that anybody that is toxic in your life, or any part of them that is toxic to your life, is born out of your own childhood wounds. And if you relate to panel one as a kind of like a body of a cell, okay, you can see all this the cellular structure, then you can see that when you're wounded as a child, your cellular structure, the structure of who you are, has been violated. And then those little holes that it creates can allow people uh, and other toxic entities to enter you. And so this is what basically sets you up to allow toxic people, friends included, into your life. And so, through your own personal growth and struggles and experimentations with your boundaries and being authentic to yourself, I think the more authentic and in alignment you are with yourself, the more you will realize that you just can't tolerate these infiltrations, if you will. Okay. So let's move to panel two and talk about what happens when you do let these toxic friends in. What happens is that there's a sense of violation and a sense of pain. And I also want to talk about the bargains that people enter into. And shamefully, some of the bargains that I've entered into in order to tolerate toxic relationships. So, let's identify some of the reasons why you would let a toxic person into your life. Okay, so number one, maybe there are aspects of them that are very supportive of who you are. Maybe there are aspects of them that fulfill certain needs, like the need for companionship, the need for socialization, the need for exchange of ideas, the need for agreement, the need for esteeming you, the need. Okay, so you could see that whenever I use the word need, there's a deficit. So whether it's me or you or anybody else out there, when there is an unfulfilled need and you fill that hole in the soul, which is what the childhood wounds created, with an unfulfilling toxic friend, you're going to have a reaction. Okay? And I think that's what compelled me to finally realize that I'm not in alignment by allowing for toxicity to exist in my life. And so let's talk about these reactions to allowing people into your life that are toxic. And um, I want you to maybe conjure up somebody from your own life, okay? Just take a minute, close your eyes if you need to, and think about somebody that has been useful, maybe even important to you, but somebody that just doesn't feel right. And I'm simply talking on a very simple level. They just don't feel right. You walk away tired afterwards, you walk away bored, you walk away feeling like you're out of integrity with yourself. You walk away feeling like You've been drained of your ideas. You walk away feeling like none of the human basic needs that Dr. John Bowlby, father of attachment theory, gave talked about. Human needs like eye contact and skin contact and mirroring and attunement and uh, and 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 empathy and connection. And you walk away feeling like that's just not there for you. And no matter how nice they may be on the surface, the underlying emotional nourishment is scant. Okay? And no matter what you do, you cannot ignore it because, as Dr. Hans Selye talked about in his books many years ago, I think it was called The Relaxation Response, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am, I'm sure somebody will correct me. Um, that the mind and the body are interconnected. And when you're around people that are not mirroring you, attuning you, empathizing with you, giving you basic human connection, what happens? Well, I could speak to that because I've done it. Okay. So, what happens internally is that it's disruptive. It will disrupt your body, and you might notice that you get headaches and backaches and feel tired and drained, and that you can't think properly, or your creativity light is dimmed, or your enthusiasm for life is dimmed. And so, when you continue to tolerate toxic friends in your life, let's go back to panel one for a minute and then we'll connect the dots. Your light gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and the hole in the soul gets filled. However, it never gets fulfilled. And this lack of fulfillment speaks volumes. And so when you react, it's a reaction of almost like capitulation to these needs that we all have as human beings. But when we put our needs into the hands of somebody who cannot fulfill them in a healthy way, and vice versa. Of course, you've got to also participate in filling theirs, then it becomes more and more of a black hole. Okay. And so, any questions in the chat room or anybody?
Actually, we do, and I wouldn't mind if after you answer this question, I even have a question from myself because I
Thank you.
think
Thank you.
I think probably 99.9% of have had these type of friendships. So,
Yes.
but it says, why does losing a toxic friend sometimes hurt more than ending a romantic relationship?
Wow. Okay, let me think on that. You just challenged my mind.
Ooh, I like it. Thank
Ooh,
you.
I like it. Throw me off my usual quick answers here. Losing a toxic friend. Um, I think sometimes it's more subtle because you're not maybe as emotionally invested as you are in a romantic relationship. You lean more on them in terms of your needs met and your life revolves around them a little bit more. In the case of my situation, uh, lives were not as entwined. They were somewhat entwined, but not very entwined. So I think the more entwined you are, uh, the more. Um, um, but you're saying that it's harder to lose the toxic friend, yeah?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that what
it.
you're
They're
saying?
saying it's that when they lost their toxic friend, it was like losing a relationship, or sometimes it felt harder losing a romantic relationship. So
Okay, that's interesting because you think intuitively it would be the opposite.
right.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So why would it be so that losing the toxic friend? Well, it depends on the level of entwinement. If you really leaned on this friend for many of your needs and then you suddenly grow to the point where critical mass happens and you just can't anymore. And this person has been, for example, let's say supporting you or being your social buddy and appearing on all kinds of social engagements with you. That is a significant part of life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the loss here is that it unstructures you. Okay? A toxic friend can be in your life for a long, long time because, in my case, it gave a lot of structure to my life. It put me on a schedule. Um, it it allowed me to have a plus one figure next to me if I needed that, and all of that had benefits. So, whenever we lose benefits, we feel that there's a loss. However, this is where you have to evaluate very carefully. Are these benefits recapitulating your childhood injuries? And are you in the same emotional bubble as you were with your family of origin? And if you are, then you are doing what I call a WTF. So, in a sense, I was doing my own WTF until I couldn't any longer and couldn't justify it, especially since I'm a role model to other people, and I don't want a role model to others to continue things that don't um, feel authentic and don't bring out your light. And so it's not as simple as just losing the person, you're losing activities, you're losing possibly social status, you're losing a memory bank. Okay? These are very significant because you've made memories with this person. So, especially if the relationship has been a long term one, there's so much to it in that every single event that you've gone to, every dinner that you've had, every encounter that you have had is loaded with memories, some good and mainly some not so good, which is why you walk away. And so it's again going back to childhood wounds. What is it that compels one to be in a relationship that's not nourishing? Well, let's go back to the cause. And if you haven't received my book, Be the Cause Healing Human Disconnect, please either pick up a copy through Amazon.com or you can get a free PDF from the clinic, Psychological Healing Center. But basically, we copycat the atmosphere, the emotional atmosphere that our parents laid down for us. So, coming from parents who weren't the best at mirroring and attuning and empathizing and emotionally nourishing, my tolerance for non nourishing relationships was higher. Okay, so I had a sort of a thick skin for it, if you will. It's just that I don't want to have a thick skin to that. I don't. I'd rather have a vulnerable life. I would rather have people, even nobody. Oh, that's the other thing, because if you give up a toxic friend, then you have no body next to you. And what does no plus body spell? Right?
Nobody.
No body. So there's no body. So
Actually,
now,
that's what I was going to ask you because I hate to interrupt because that's exactly what I was going to say. Now at 56 years old and going, I've had many romantic relationships and now I'm married, which I'm happy about. But I've had many friends and a lot of them that were toxic. Now I honestly, I just don't have any energy to even want to start new relationships or new friendships.
exactly, because people today are not at their healthiest. So, I'm in a position where I feel like, oh my God, do I have to cure the world for me to have decent friendships and relationships?
Right?
Like, wow, I've got to do it all. And that goes back to childhood wounds like parentified child and fixing your parents and all of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. And at some point, Tony, and you must know this, it's so draining, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so tiresome and boring. Okay. And I want you to know I'm the kind of person that will talk to the person, the toxic friend, and say, look, this and this and this is why I'm pulling away. I've said some things like, I can't feel your heart. Is
Mm-hmm.
that an insult? I don't think so. It's the truth. I just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't feel the person's heart.
Hmm.
And it just made it such that everything was, the term Muzak, right? Muzak, you get in an
Oh yeah.
elevator and it's a truncated version of the song, and each encounter is just like the same old and the same old. And, there's a part of all of us that likes routine because it makes us feel safe and comfortable. And this person also had a lot of beautiful qualities like loyalty and well educated and generous to a certain degree and all of it and sort of like ah sad because now you've got no body. However, at some point critical mass happens, and so let's journey along the mind map to see how that happens. Right. So, panel number three. So, what is it that people encode there? I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve better than this. I'm always going to be alone. I'll never meet the love of my life. I'll never have anything better than this. This is the best that you can do. Reinforced by people around you who say things that confuse you. Like, no, no, no. Why would you think that of this person? This person's very nice to you. This person is, um, loyal to you. This person is somebody that's dependable. This person is somebody intelligent. This person is somebody who shows up. So that's where the guilt starts, okay? So, after doing that, I have to say that I'm feeling a large dose of guilt because, um, don't want to hurt anybody, don't want to do something that maybe I will regret to have done, and so forth. It's just that the truth is that even though I have those feelings and those are normal feelings to have, there's a sense of relief. And sometimes no thing is better than the wrong something. Can people identify with that? Is there anybody in the audience that can identify with what I just said? That sometimes the no thing is better than the wrong something. How did you feel about that, Tony, when you let go of people that didn't serve you any longer?
I guess it just depends how it ended. I've had people where um, it honestly, because of the way it ended, I kind of just shut it out and just went on and said, I'm. It was for the best. And then there are some people that, even to this day, I miss their company or their friendship. So um, I guess it just depends on how it ended.
And what they brought to you
Yeah,
and what kind
yeah.
of light they brought to you. And again, if I were to speak heart to this person, and I did give the person so many opportunities and so many times I would point out things that hurt me or disturbed me, and they were all along the theme of narcissism. Uh, and um, and the answer was, let me think about that. And then the next step was, Please get some help. I don't want to be your therapist. Please get some help. No motion, no movement. So I don't give up the fight. I do express and also offer a pathway to growth. But if they don't take it, if I'm growing and they're just stagnating, then right?
Hmm. Is it possible, and that's somebody else has a question that kind of leads into this question, that they were toxic all along, but just because you grew as a person, you started seeing the toxicity of that person just because of your growth?
I think that's a big part of it. In my particular case, I always saw the toxicity, but I also saw the benefits and selfishly, okay,
Yeah.
because I like to own my own stuff too. I talk about it and I like to do it. Selfishly, I was getting some benefits out of it, the company, the dinners out, and so on. And so I don't think I was ready to let go of it. However, um, I started feeling angry. I started feeling drained. I
Mm.
started feeling like I wasn't looking forward to seeing this person. And then after a while, I had to say to myself, this is not nice. It's not nice to me. It's not nice to the person. And I need to just be in truth about all of this. And I cannot go on any longer. So, um, yeah, it's true that when you grow, and I think part of it is that lately I've been focusing so much on self-growth and thinking things through and taking responsibility and reviewing my own life, even though I am a psychologist and a teacher, I also have to learn for myself and then through my own example, teach other people. And so when something like this comes up, I also look at it as a opportunity for myself to grow, opportunity. And if I were to talk to this person, I genuinely wish the person the best. I really, really do. I don't harbor any anger toward the person because I tried so hard to get this person to self reflect and self correct. Unfortunately, the defense mechanism of narcissism interprets self reflection as self blame and shame. And so I couldn't get behind the narcissistic wall as much as I wanted to. And I tried. And
And Dr.
then,
Judy, we have a call.
oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes.
A friend substance abuse.
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much for calling in.
Oh, hi, Dr. Judy. Firstly, thank you so much for all the wisdom you put out in the world and share.
Oh, that's really
My
kind.
question,
Thank you.
you're welcome. My question is, if you have a toxic friend who perhaps some of their toxicity comes from a substance abuse issue, how can that be broached with kindness and love, even though one may feel the friendship has run its course? Or
Oh,
do they not? Do you not
great
mention it?
question, because I could totally identify with that, and that was part of the problem. Okay, so first of all, I want you to know that if somebody is using a substance and abusing a substance, and sometimes it's hard to know the difference, but when somebody's using a
Mm,
substance every single day, I call that abuse. Okay, sorry.
okay.
I do. If a person can't even sit down at the on your couch without having a drink first, that's a problem.
Hmm.
And so what you're up against in that case is a lot of hopelessness because they're filling their hole in the soul, okay, with their
Yes.
numbing of their emotions. And whenever you numb your emotions, you don't feel your emotions. And when you don't feel your emotions, you don't grow. So, it's just a given that they don't like how they feel. Let's drink to that. They don't like the way,
Mm.
let's drink to that. They don't like this, they don't like that. Okay, let's just drink to that. And there's no growth with people who numb themselves. They're just simply, and that was part of my reasoning for this. This just never gonna be growth. So what go back to your question that what do you do in the
Do
circumstance?
you, when you have, let's say you have a friendship that's come to a terminal point because, as you've been discussing, perhaps my own awareness has grown, or how I see things, that maybe they are always trauma dumping. And I realize that we also have a alcohol abuse issue.
Yes.
Is there any value in saying to them, is there a loving way to say, you're an alcoholic, or I wish you could get some help, or is that what's your advice?
Well, yeah, I've tried that and it doesn't work.
Uh huh.
Yes,
It doesn't work.
it's valid because you can't wish for somebody. I wish for my friend to be sober, and I wish for my friend to be a deep soul, and I wish for my friend to be on a growth path, and I wish for my friend to have a big, loving, generous, open heart. But what's wrong with my statements?
I guess they're all based on something I want.
Yes. Does my friend wish to be sober? No. Does my friend wish to drop the narcissistic defenses? No, too threatening. Does my friend wish for the things that I wish for my friend? Absolutely not. Okay.
Do you think it's an enlightened to tell a friend that you wish these things for them as a way of saying goodbye, or is it almost seem like in itself could be considered abusive on their side? Does
You mean to tell
that
them?
make sense?
I mean, maybe if I would have had.
Yeah, like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yes, like to say, I feel like, say something kind, but say, I hope that you can find someone to talk to and maybe dry out. I know you can
Yeah,
just
I
imagine
mean,
who would fall on it.
sometimes words do not hit. So I like to say that in my heart to this person. It's just that I know that they're blocked. So I
I
can,
see.
let's say, I like talking about energy and sending them telepathic messages, if you will. I know that sounds
Okay.
there, but if I were to send a message, I would say, I hope you heal. I hope you know that um, that I wish for you that you would grow and open your heart to love and open your heart to um, self-growth. It's just that I can't say those words because they are going to be deflected and defended against. Okay? You see?
Yes. Yes, I do see. So in a way, it can take the sensation of feeling guilty because I'm wishing or praying or communicating in dreams to help them, and maybe they'll pick it up.
Maybe they will pick it up, but their injuries are such that it's too threatening. Like as long as I played along with the game, everything was okay. But then when I busted the game, and I busted the game several times. There were several times where by saying goodbye was not so nice. I tried, and it wasn't nice because
Mm.
right in the storm of their doing something so obnoxiously narcissistic that I couldn't stand it anymore. And then they would start,
Yeah.
say, backpedaling. And so I'm so sorry, I'll do it better, or yeah, you're right. I want to take responsibility. But you know, people might say those words, but if there's no change to those words,
Hmm.
then they're just words. They're just words of appeasement so that they can take the ride for a longer journey with you. And I'm so sorry, but I'm running out of fuel for that.
Well put. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for calling in.
Well, thank you, Dr. Judy. Take care.
Take care. Yeah, this is something that I think everybody faces. Is what do you do about that? Because not every friendship is going to be super nourishing. Not every friendship is going to be like organic, chock full of vitamins and minerals and love and light and so on. I recognize that. And then there's the thought of, well, if I'm gonna put such harsh boundaries on people, then I won't have anybody in my life, and that's not so cool either. Um, and sometimes I just have to sort of say to myself, well, this person I can be with because I'm nourished in this way and that way. It's not perfect, but they're not um they're also adding light to my light. As long as somebody adds light to my light, um I can be with that. I can be with that. Any other questions in the chat room? Anybody else want to talk about the draining effects of a toxic friend and why it's important to release?
There's a question, and it kind of leads to what he was saying. It says, after cutting ties with a draining friend, how do you heal and open up or open to new, healthier relationships? And it's kind of like we've been talking about, but maybe that needs to be repeated.
Yeah, and so I think the first thing is just to appreciate and congratulate yourself for choosing yourself. Okay, that's really important. Instead of kicking yourself in the butt and saying, "Oh, I'm such a horrible person for ending this," because they weren't that bad, they weren't beating me or anything like that. Just to congratulate yourself for tuning into your own intuitive needs and realizing that this was not healthy for you. So that's the first thing. Second thing is to appreciate the space that you now have, which may be a little bit scary, okay? Because now your whole life calendar is off, okay? You no longer have your calendar filled with events with this person. And now you're forced to grow even more. How about that? So now I'm forced to fill that with better things. Sometimes it'll be as simple as getting more sleep or hanging out with my dogs more or getting more involved in my projects or signing up for more classes or attempting to meet people who are more of my um, growth partner requirements. So then that comes next is feeling the emptiness. So sometimes let me mind map it and I think you'll understand it better. So remember, panel 3 is your negative core beliefs that led you to pick these people. Core beliefs like I'm not enough, I'll never be enough, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve. Okay, so then you go pick these people and you try to hold the bond together, but it doesn't work because you're now in panel 4, chaos. Okay, which is you're denying the chaos, so you try to stick the bond together. Oh, he was so nice, or she was so sweet to me. Oh, this person did nice things for me. So you try to glue the bond together, but it lacks the backbone. Okay, it lacks their mental health and also your own. And then you go into panel number 5, which are those defense mechanisms, whether they are the person was using alcohol or your own defense mechanisms, which might sound like, yeah, but the person wasn't that bad. Or, I shouldn't do that to the person because it's going to hurt them or it's going to disrupt their life. Or people outside that have been part of this community that you've created aren't going to be happy to lose their buddy or like these lives tie together and so now their family and they know yours and so the chaos is it's big. It's like releasing a toxic bond. There's going to be fallout material and then there's going to be defense around it. And at the end, you've got to decide, do you want to stay with your excuses and shore up this relationship that hasn't served you and then just get more and more angry. So if those bubbles represent your boiling feelings, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your resentment toward the person is growing. But not only that, your resentment toward yourself is growing because you start hating yourself for being inauthentic. You start hating yourself for not living your truth. And then panel 6 finally comes or not. So for panel 6 breakdown, you have to have some kind of a breakdown to break through. So maybe the breakdown is, I just don't feel well anymore, or I just can't tolerate the level of narcissistic behavior, or that is just so offensive, or that is just so out of line and not right with my value system. And then you've got to do something about that. The other thing that you could do is just keep holding it in and implode and get in fights with the person, which was starting to happen. I was starting to fight with the person. I think I fought with this person all along, but the fights were getting more around the behavior. Like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you did that. And, you know, um, and this indignancy grew inside of me to the point where I started talking to people. I started talking to friends and other professionals, and they started mirroring back like, uh, well, some people said, well, just spend less time with the person. That was a defense mechanism. Okay, I'll just spend less time. But actually, it wasn't that. Any time with this person was not nourishing. Not less time, but any time. Like if somebody said, oh, we could just pop this person back into your life, I would just say, no, I'll just go through my whatever level of grief or, feelings that I have to process, but I'm good with closing my boundaries to this and teaching myself that this cannot happen in the future because I'm laying down a prototype for myself that I'm saying that this is the end game. I'm not letting people like this into my life. If they don't nourish me, if I don't nourish them, if it's not what I call a synergistic relationship, and I'll get to that next, which is panel number 7. This is the only kind of relationship I want, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or a business partnership. All I want is a synergistic relationship based on authenticity and truth and goodwill and light. Because 1 plus 1, when we play that better game of life, as I like to say in my book, be the cause of better outcomes for your life. The only way that happens is when you create synergistic relationships. And if you're feeling very alone because you've dropped so many people, then maybe you need to recalibrate and rebalance. Then maybe you have to tear your own system down and reset your boundaries and make a new contract with yourself. So that's what I've done is I've contracted with myself not to allow people like that into my life so I don't have to drag it out and justify and fake it. Because, the main thing that really rubs me the wrong way is to fake something that is not really authentic and life-giving for me. Was that a call?
No call, but I do have another question if you want to take it.
Okay. Please, please.
It says, why do we keep going back to friends who drain us emotionally, even when you know they're not good for us?
Because we're doing a what the Freud, because of everything that I've talked about, your childhood injuries, that you're used to it, it's familial and familiar. You guys should get my video, Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. Seriously. You should get that one. It'll explain it in a compact manner. Um, but yeah, you've been blueprinted to tolerate that stuff, low level stuff, and then your core belief is I can't do any better than that. I don't deserve better. Where am I going to find different people? That's been my challenge is finding people of the caliber that I want to relate to. It's very, very difficult. It's not an easy thing. And if you're having an easy time, I'd love to hear from you because I want to know um, where you're finding all these wonderful people. But, remember, we're not in the best shape on our planet. I mean, just look at the disconnection from ourselves, the cell phone usage, the drug usage, the porn usage, the lack of family unity, the clash within our own families, and then that extends to our global situation, which is the dissolving of the human race, which I want to start really digging into and addressing. And so, that brings me to healing global disconnect. Why are we a bunch of isms, and what happened to us, and why do we kill each other, and why do we lack empathy, and why do we live such divisional lives, and why can't we be synergistic with others, and who can we be synergistic with, and when is it time to let communities go, or interacting with people that are not going to bring us light. It's the same thing, macro, micro. That's what the mind map is. It's a micro model, but it's also a macro model that speaks to the join the human race quote, which goes something like, we have risen to tremendous heights as a human race, and yet we're fractured in terms of our race, religion, culture, politics, everything. Okay? And we have done remarkable things as human beings. We have cured disease, we've landed on the moon, we've done remarkably beautiful things, great art, literature, music. So, the last challenge, which I'd like to challenge myself and you with, is how do we come together as a united humanity when we are so different in our isms, political isms, and racial isms, and cultural isms, and sexual orientation isms, and any kind of isms. Like, foundationally, how do we treat ourselves as humane? Because that's the point of join the human race, healing global disconnect, is creating a humane society that's synergistic. And that's what I see as my purpose on the planet, and so part of that is getting rid of people that are toxic and joining with forces that are synergistic and building a panel 8. If you look at my mind map, panel 8 is about healing. It's about climbing the ladder of evolution. And those little people on the ladder are your growth partners. They're helping you, you're helping them, and you're climbing the ladder to evolve. And as a result, you could see that the water on the planet is blue and turquoise, and the planet looks healthy, and the DNA that we're building together is strong, and it is in authenticity, and it is the system gone right. And we need all of that, which I talked about, to create a united humanity, which is my panel number 9, where we are loving, kind, respectful, and those are those dolphins which represent the wisdom masters, mind, body, soul, and our respect for not only the humans but the animals and the entire ecosystem of our planet. So that's what I mean by healing global disconnect and healing human disconnect, because you can't heal globally until you've healed individually. So there's a part of me that thinks that we need more work to heal individually before moving on to global healing. It's just that, time is running short, and we've got to reach critical mass where people are sick and tired of the hate. They're sick and tired of of the divisional lines. And that doesn't mean that we've got to join hands with everybody on the planet, because some people are not principled, they're not loving, they're not kind. So those are the toxic people to put boundaries on. We cannot create a humane race with inhumane people. So those are my parting words. Any comments? Any questions?
No more comments and no more questions, but that was a great show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate your call in and the questions, and Tony for bringing up your own examples. Thank you. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.